almost all the hate speech on Facebook is anti-white.
Mr. Reagan.
So apparently white Americans aren't actually racist. Shocking. This is actually from an article in the Washington Post, which is Bezos's communist propaganda rag. So for them to be acknowledging this gives you a sense of the credibility of this story. Now, last year, Facebook implemented a change in its hate speech filter, and this initiative was known as WOW, which stood for the worst of the worst. And the idea was to better target white hate speech against minorities and women and allow more black hate speech against white people and men. And that is not a joke. That is a real initiative at Facebook. Now, I'm going to read to you from an article that's also from the Washington Post from 2020, when this WOW initiative was created. But first, I have to sell you something. Right now, stocks are at an all-time high. The economy is roaring. Houses are selling and weak interest rates are at zero. And the government just printed $5 trillion. What could possibly go wrong? Meanwhile, consumer confidence has hit a 10-year low, and inflation hit 6.8%, with parts of the U.S. seeing rates as high as 8%. Something is not adding up. So what can you do? You can play it safe. Putting some of your assets into precious metals will keep your money away from the volatility of the markets and will protect you from inflation. Investing in precious metals will let you sleep at night. This month, Noble Gold is giving away a free America the Beautiful solid silver 5-ounce coin with any qualifying plan that you start. So talk to an expert at Noble Gold and they'll run you through your options to keep your money safe. No pressure, no hassling, no call centers, just a chance to speak to somebody who knows what they're talking about. And how refreshing would that be? Start by calling 877-646-5347 or visit their website at noblegoldinvestments.com. All right, now let's look into Facebook's twisted initiative here. The overhaul, which is known as the WOW project and is in its early stages, involves re-engineering Facebook's automated moderation systems to get better at detecting and automatically deleting harmful language that is considered the worst of the worst, according to internal documents describing the project obtained by the Washington Post. The worst of the worst includes slurs directed at blacks, Muslims, people of more than one race, the LGBTQ community, and Jews, according to the documents. As one way to assess severity, Facebook assigned different types of attacks numerical scores weighted based on their perceived harm. For example, the company's systems would now place a higher priority on automatically removing statements such as gay people are disgusting rather than men are pigs. Now, I get that a girl who is disgusted with a guy that maybe just broke up with her, she might flippantly say that men are pigs, and she might not really mean that, but I've had gay dudes literally stand there at a party and ask me over and over again if I've ever thought about very specific sexual acts with men. That was pretty disgusting. My brother had his ass grabbed once by a gay dude. I've heard gay dudes make jokes about sex with unborn human fetuses. I knew one gay dude that turned just about everything I said into a sexual joke. So there are times when some guys might flippantly say gay people are disgusting. And, perhaps they don't really believe that, in the same way the girl that got broken up with doesn't believe that all men are pigs. All right, let's read the rest of this article. Facebook has long banned hate speech, defined as violent or dehumanizing speech based on race, gender, sexuality, and other protected characteristics. It owned Instagram and has the same hate speech policies there, but before the overhaul, the company's algorithms and policies did not make a distinction between groups that were more likely to be targets of hate speech versus those that have not been historically marginalized. Comments like "white people are stupid" were treated the same as anti-Semitic or racist slurs, as they should be. In the first phase of the project, which was announced internally to a small group in October, engineers said that they had changed the company's systems to deprioritize policing contemptuous comments about whites, men, and Americans. Facebook still considers such attacks to be hate speech, and users can still report it to the company. However, the company's technology now treats them as low sensitivity or less likely to be harmful, so they are no longer automatically detected by the company's algorithms. That means that roughly 10,000 fewer posts are now being deleted each day, according to the documents. So hate speech against white people is, quote, less likely to be harmful, and yet we've got a black serial killer, a black mass murderer, and a black supremacist calling for white genocide currently in the news. And I'm going to be playing the audio from that last one here in just a moment, by the way. But look, even if racism against white people or sexism against men or bigotry against Americans, even if these things were less likely to be harmful, as they say, and they are absolutely not, by the way, but even if they were, this kind of bigotry, according to Facebook, makes up 90% of the hate speech on Facebook. So even if it's less likely to be harmful, the sheer quantity of the hate speech alone makes it more harmful. And by the way, if hate speech against white people and men make up 90% of what you find, then hate speech against black Americans must be infinitesimal, because the remaining 10% will include Asian hate, hate against gays, hate against Asians, women, Jews. So how much of that remaining 10% is hate speech against black Americans? I'm guessing it is infinitesimal, under 1% probably. And yet, that is what we are designating as the most harmful, the so-called worst of the worst. But it's not the worst of the worst. The worst of the worst is black racism against white Americans, which has become an epidemic in America. Now, I already made a video talking about black supremacy in America, and I don't want to go over it twice, but I will say that I have been talking about this problem for years now. America really is not a racist country against minorities, but it is a racist country against white people, and this has become a real problem. On Twitter recently, the account Libs of TikTok posted this video. Now, what you're about to see is a bunch of black supremacists talking amongst each other.
I am for the white genocide. I am for the total erasure of the white race. You don't have to chop this up. Yes, I am for all of you white bitches dying like flies. I am for it. I am for it. I support it. I am for putting all you white possums in a gas chamber and letting that motherfucker ring, bitch. I am for it. So you don't have to chop shit up. I'm for it, and I'm going to stand 10 toes down behind it, bitch. Simple as that. So you got to chop shit up. You ain't got to screw the shit. Bitch, I said it, and I stand on it. Simple.
This is what happens when you promote racist ideas to black people. This is the fault of CNN. This is the fault of MSNBC. This is the fault of the New York Times. This is the fault of all the left-wing establishment media outlets. This is the fault of Hollywood. This is the fault of the social media giants. And the sad thing is that Facebook and Twitter and YouTube, they're not just censoring the worst of the worst, as Facebook wants you to believe. They're censoring basically anything that conservatives say, and they pretend it's the worst of the worst, all while they try to facilitate black hate against white people. This is wrong. This is twisted, and this is something that we have to fight against. Well, that's it for me. And remember, it's not that our liberal friends are ignorant. It's just that they know so much that is not so. Good night.
I am eternally optimistic, and I happen to believe that we've made great progress from the days when I was young and when this country didn't even know it had a racial problem. I know those things can grow out of despair in an inner city, when there's hopelessness at home, lack of work and so forth.